So it's funny because everyone is acting like a contract expert now that Brock Purdy and the 49ers have finalized their deal, but not everybody is a contract expert. I know many of you have been waiting for this moment, this big time official breakdown of Brock Purdy's contract. I've been researching for the past 24 hours. I've been making tables, and I have the full explanation of how this impacts the 49ers spending ability moving forward. Now, on top of this Brock Purdy deal, Fred Warner just officially signed his contract this afternoon. And the one biggest overarching takeaway that I can give you right now is that the 49ers 2025 salary cap situation has improved drastically when we combine the impact of both the Brock Purdy contract and the Fred Warner contract. In fact, my numbers have the 49ers at over $40 million in 2025 salary cap space after both of these deals and the George Kittle contract are accounted for. So the 49ers are in very healthy fiscal shape under the salary cap. And here we're going to break down how Brock Purdy's deal made it possible with all the guaranteed money, the staggered cap hits. Hopefully this graphic right here, once I go through it, once I explain this all to you in a step-by-step process, hopefully everything makes sense on a new level. But first and foremost, and this is the biggest thing to remember, the 49ers now have over $40 million of salary cap space in 2025, and unused salary cap space carries over from season to season. That means they're going to have enough money to pay Brock Purdy in the future on the salary cap as the bills escalate for Brock Purdy. All of this needs to be prefaced with the ultimate goal for the 49ers and Purdy. They are going to want a new contract, and Brock Purdy, I think, is going to want a new contract by 2028. Why do I say this? Well, because if you look at his deal right here, it goes through 2030 and 2031, or 2031 and 2032 are void years. But if all goes well, the 49ers and Purdy, the inflection point here is to renegotiate and give him a new extension with 3 years still left on this contract. We talk about Fred Warner reaching a new deal with the 49ers with 2 years left on his deal. This contract is set up for the 49ers and Purdy to be even more proactive, and that is 2028 when the salary cap hit rises to $57.6 million. There will be incentive on both sides to get something done then, assuming that Purdy plays up to the level that the 49ers anticipate him delivering at over the course of the next few seasons. So how do we get to that point? How does it come from point A to point B? Well, first, I talk about the salary cap space. That's the big picture team impact. But the mechanics of the deal to actually get the 49ers into that solid positioning began with this. There are two massive wins that both the 49ers and Purdy achieved when we discuss the specifics of this deal. And the first is the extremely low 2025 salary cap hit of only $9.1 million. Remember, I said between $8 and $9 million, somewhere around there. Well, the 49ers and Purdy were able to keep this at $9.1 million. How were they able to do this? Well, they lowered Brock Purdy's base salary in 2025 to the veteran minimum of $1.1 million. That's as low as the paragraph 5 base salary can be. Purdy agrees to this because he gets a signing bonus in the first year. The signing bonus is shaded in blue, and it's $40 million. Now, according to league rules, the signing bonus and option bonuses can be stretched out in terms of their salary cap impact for up to 5 years. So as you can see, the 49ers stretched out Brock Purdy's $40 million signing bonus against the cap over 5 years. He gets paid all $40 million right now, but as far as salary cap hit goes, it's only $8 million a year for 5 seasons. So you add $8 million plus $1.1 million, and you come up with this $9.1 million salary cap hit in 2025. Now, I say big win for the 49ers and Purdy keeping this low because a $40 million signing bonus actually isn't that big. Jared Goff, for comparison, had a $73 million signing bonus in his contract. So if 49ers had a similar size signing bonus with Brock Purdy, they wouldn't be able to prorate at the aggressively low level that they did in the blue column here. It'd be 73 divided by 5. Since I'm not that great with math, let me do the math on my own right now with a calculator. 73 divided by 5 for Jared Goff's signing bonus comes out to 14.6 million. Look, as proof here, here's 73 divided by 5, 14.6 million. So in a Jared Goff version of this, or a $73 million signing bonus version of this, you'd have 14.6 instead of 8 million in this blue column, and the base salary for the or the salary cap hit for the 49ers in 2025 would be above $15 million. Because Purdy was willing to take a smaller year one signing bonus, the 49ers were able to keep his salary cap hit at under $10 million. So that's a big win. And I say it's a big win for Purdy as well, because this is how mature the deal is. Purdy makes more money than Jared Goff over the first 3, or technically the first 4 years of the contract, but year 3 of the extension. Once you stretch this out to that 2028 season, Brock Purdy has $165.05 million of cash flow due, whereas Jared Goff only has $165 million of cash flow due. So even though Brock Purdy took a significantly smaller signing bonus to help the 49ers out in year 1, because they wanted to save as much salary cap room early on as possible for maximum carryover, even though that happened in year 1, that sacrifice happened, Brock Purdy is ultimately set to be rewarded, because after that year 3, Purdy is going to edge out Jared Goff at cash flow, $165.05 million versus $165 million. And even as that happens over the course of the first 3 years of this contract, there will still be meat on the bone for the 49ers to lower Purdy's salary cap hits through restructures. So what the 49ers have always striven for is option power with these deals. They want to make sure that they're never backed into a corner of a massive cap hit that doesn't allow them to move. This contract allows them to move, even if Purdy is playing extremely well and they have every interest of keeping him on the team, which I think is the expectation. Otherwise, you don't agree to a deal like this in the first place. But what I mean by meeting on the bone is that look at the base salaries. So this is not like George Kittle's deal where every single base salary is the league minimum. He's got an $8.3 million base salary, fully guaranteed, which is why it's shaded in red here. Then he's got an $11.3 million base salary, which is partially guaranteed right now, but it's set to vest into a full guarantee in 2026, which is why I shaded in light red. And then he's got big salaries here, $34.1 million, $49 million, $49.1 million. Since none of that is the veteran minimum, the 49ers can always convert that money to an option bonus in any given year and stretch out its salary cap hit against 5 years as an amortization, as we call it. So he's set to get an option bonus worth about $38 million in 2026 that, again, is stretched like an accordion against the salary cap from 26 to 2030. He's set for another option bonus in 2027 that is $15 million big, that is stretched out against the salary cap at $3 million per season through 2031. That's a void year. He's set to get another option bonus in 2028 that's stretched against the salary cap only $4 million per year instead of the $20 million that it's worth in totality, stretches through 2032. So the 49ers can always add to this proration money by converting the base salary, whatever base salary is above a league minimum of about 1.1 million. It grows a bit every year. So I think by 27 or 28, it'll be 1.5 million, but you could still convert all but 1.5 million of 34.1 million in base salary to one of these color-coded bonuses that stretch out into the future. So the 49ers will do this, trust me, because they want to keep these lower-term cap hits as low as possible. They've already done it for 2025. That cap hit is only $9.1 million. They've got over $40 million in salary cap space because of that. They're going to do it in 2026 because they can lower that cap hit significantly, probably to around, I would say, probably 15 million. I'm not going to do the math in my head, but I can do the estimation in my head. 2027, same deal. They're going to be able to lower this salary cap hit significantly. And then by 2028, again, the goal would be new contract for the 49ers and Brock Purdy. That's one thing that people are not talking about, and that's why this is an actually accurate 49ers Brock Purdy contract analysis, because people are looking at 2029, 2030, and they're like, oh my God, massive cap hit. So, I mean, people are wrong through all different directions on this. Some people are saying that cap hit's going to be way too tough to manage in 2029. It's like, no, that there's going to be a new deal in place if Brock Purdy is still around in 2029. The goal is to renegotiate early on these things. Plus, even say they didn't renegotiate for whatever reason, the restructure meat on the bone in this contract is such that they're not going to have to face a $72.5 million salary cap hit. On top of that, the cap is rising year over year. The NFL is going to be renegotiating TV deals at the end of the decade. The NFL is adding a ton of international games. So as revenues go up, so will the salary cap. The 49ers have set this deal up to perfectly surf the wave of the rising salary cap. I mean, isn't that a beautiful surf there? You've got the blue, you've got the green, you've got the yellow, you've got the teal. Those are option bonuses kicking in subsequent years. It's not only an accordion structure, it's a staggered accordion structure that the 49ers and the Eagles have popularized around this league. But when I talk about the meat on the bone, take a look at this in terms of the actual contract numbers. And this is compared to other quarterbacks in the NFL. Brock Purdy, the P5 means paragraph 5 salary. So the percentage of money that Brock Purdy is getting is paragraph 5 salary, which is money that can be converted into signing bonus so you can buy yourself some more salary cap room a little bit later on. 55.7% of Purdy's contract is paragraph 5 salary. The average of these other big contracts, Prescott, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts, the average paragraph 5 component there is 43.8%. So that's what I mean, that Purdy still has more than average meat on the bone left to convert to signing bonus. So the 49ers have tremendous optionality here. Here's another illustration. If you look at the bottom part of this, look at Brock Purdy's signing bonus. It's 15.1% of his contract. That is lower than the average. That shows us that Purdy, that's 21%. Purdy has elected to take a smaller signing bonus than average so he can come out on top of this contract later on. Only 42.5% of Purdy's contract is prorated right now into smaller salary cap hits. The league average over these other big contracts, 52%. This is all stuff that the 49ers can go and undo later on. They could redo, I guess I should say, later on. Starting with 2026, when $8.3 million is paragraph 5 base salary, that can be cut down to what, $1.1, $1.2 million, stretched out into the future. So what the 49ers have done is that they've been able to find a structure with Brock Purdy that gives them the appropriate flexibility moving forward. Now, we can shift this conversation into the guarantees. And in general, there are full guarantees in this contract. This is where people get it wrong from the other side. I saw some ridiculous point that, the 49ers have an out after year 2. This is being delivered by people who don't understand contracts. And as you can tell, I think I understand contracts because I've gone into the nitty-gritty of this for every single 49ers deal ever since Jimmy Garoppolo's deal in 2028. But you can theoretically eject from a contract at any time in this league. You saw it with the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson. They just racked up a tremendous amount of dead money. But one can argue, and I think one could correctly argue, that doing so is simply avoiding the sunk cost fallacy. So at any time you can hit the eject button. It's a matter of how feasible it is financially. And it's more a matter of how much money does the player have in guarantees to to at least protect himself to where if he would be cut, if the team did move on, if the coach got fired, how much money would he still be able to hold on to throughout the course of this contract? And in the case of Purdy here, it's obviously $265.05 million over the 5-year extension, plus or a component of that is $53 million per year. Those are surface level numbers. When we look at the detailed numbers for Brock Purdy, there are $100 million fully guaranteed in this contract. The $100 million that is fully guaranteed in this contract is comprised of the shaded colors on this chart that I made for you. So that is, and you could put it in your calculator. You can follow along with me as I go through this stuff. The 2025 base salary, 1.1 million veteran minimum, that's fully guaranteed. The 2025 signing bonus, so that's 40 million. That is everything here in blue. So the total of 40 million, that is fully guaranteed. So do 1.1 plus 40 plus 8.3 million, which is the 2026 base salary. That is fully guaranteed. Then there's the 2026 option bonus. That is 38 million. That's the green right here. That's fully guaranteed. So continue adding this into your calculator. Then 2027, $11.3 million is, or 11.9 million. So that's going to be 11.9 million of the compensation set to come in 2027, which is part of the base salary in that season. That is fully guaranteed. Then there is the 2026 workout bonus. That is $100,000, and the 2026 per game roster bonus. That's $850,000. So that ends up being $950,000 here in 2026. That is fully guaranteed. Add all of those numbers up, and on your calculator, you should come up with $100 million fully guaranteed. For practical discussion reasons, the full guarantees of this contract bleed all the way into 2027, where there are $11.9 million of full guarantees. So that is the sign of a very mature, smart contract. You can talk about the APY being at 53 million and the fully guaranteed total all, ranking somewhere within the top 10. I think the APY is number 7. But when I was discussing this over the course of several months before this deal, I said that I wouldn't really care about those numbers. I would care more about the structure, how the 49ers were able to keep the salary cap hits down and flexible, and also how many years of fully guaranteed money Brock Purdy would have at the start. So if we're looking at this simply from the term of fully guaranteed money and from the perspective of that, there is fully guaranteed money going all the way into year 3 of this deal, which is the 2027 year of this deal. But it doesn't stop there. There's total guarantees, which are injury guarantees, go all the way through the 2028 season for Brock Purdy. So that's 4 years down the road. And there are rolling guarantees on top of that. This is where the true mature structure of this deal comes in. So we can look right here at the rolling guarantees, and I think this illustrates it better than anything. He's got $41.1 million coming in 2025. He's got 46 or 47 million essentially coming in 2026. This is the fully guaranteed amount. Plus 11.9 million, as I said, coming in 2027. That's a much simpler calculation. You add those three together, you get to 100 million. But there's much more on its way with vesting dates earlier in this contract. There's 15.3 million coming fully guaranteed on April 1st, 2026. Then 2028 guarantees then 2028 vests into fully guaranteed status on April 1st of 2027, 55 million. And then even 2029 has a vesting date on 2028, April 1st, 5.6 million vests. In total, there are $176 million of rolling guarantees in this contract, which makes it one of the strongest contracts in NFL history and quarterback history in terms of the rolling guarantees. But as you can see here, the big date, the big vesting date of $55 million is on April 1st, 2027. So that's where I introduced to you the pivotal date of this contract. And I think that we should cross-check this with the structure chart that I built you. So 2025, obviously everything's locked in for Brock Purdy. 2026, everything is locked in for Brock Purdy. All the shaded numbers in 2025 and 2026 are fully guaranteed. Then, though, you move into 2027, where there are only partial guarantees to kick things off, but they are injury guarantees for Brock Purdy. However, on April 1st of 2027, which is after just 2 years of this contract, 2028, this column right here becomes fully guaranteed. And 2028 will become fully guaranteed at a very high cap hit of $57.6 million that the 49ers will be incentivized to lower. And Brock Purdy will obviously be incentivized to kick in some more fully guarantees for himself beyond the 2028 season than just the small, relatively small $5 million 2029 guarantee that will kick in. So the fact that we see such an easy inflection point here means that the new contract target is very, very obviously 2028. This deal was not built, just like any really good deal, but any win-win deal, was not built for it to be played through all the way until 2030, which is technically the last year that Brock Purdy is under contract. This deal was made in good faith, and an extension of that good faith into the playing years of this contract dictate that Brock Purdy and the 49ers will want to sit down again in 2028 and create a new one. This is how Tom Brady operated through his years with the Patriots. In effect, this is how Patrick Mahomes is operating with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, he signed a 10-year deal with Kansas City, but they're going to be constantly renegotiating this thing throughout because Mahomes is going to have leverage. He can walk away at any point, and the Chiefs would be royally screwed. Tom Brady, back in the day with the New England Patriots, he would always take less, but he'd renegotiate ahead of schedule. So that way he'd be set with guaranteed money, and the team would be set with a good salary cap situation. We have already seen the initial good faith groundwork laid for this deal by the contract itself. Brock Purdy, again, I could go back to this. If you want to talk about good faith, you go back to the percentage signing bonus in this contract, and it's lower than average of all these top deals, 15.1% compared to 21%. I could give you the raw numbers. Jared Goff had a record-setting $73 million signing bonus. Brock Purdy's signing bonus is only $40 million. But over the first 3 years of the contract, Brock Purdy's going to end up making more, having more cash flow than Jared Goff at $165.05 million. The way that the 49ers ensure that it gets to this spot, though, is, and Brock Purdy too, I think both sides wanted to get to this spot, is by surviving the pivotal date, April 1st of 2027. That is when you trigger the big money in 2028 into a full guarantee. Let's talk about performance. Purdy, number one quarterback in the NFL, QBR in 2023. Purdy, 2024, number 7 QBR in the whole league. So he's got a very high floor. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong in 2024, yet he still finished with the number 7 QBR in football. That's why he was able to bet on himself while the 49ers also bet on him. That's what a deal like this means. The 49ers were able to confidently give basically 2.5 years of fully guaranteed money, with more than that effectively guaranteed, since we based our effective guarantee logic on Brock Purdy's past performance and how that suggests that his performance is going to stay stable moving into the future. And if the QBR ranking window here starts at a number 1 ceiling and goes down only to a number 7 floor, I think there's a really good bet that Brock Purdy is going to play through his first 2 seasons with security moving into his third to be able to trigger all 4 of these seasons to be fully guaranteed at the start. The team is protected in the case of catastrophically bad play. Brock Purdy is protected in the case of catastrophic injury. And Purdy and the team are both incentivized to see very good play through the year 2028, where they can renegotiate their deal heading into that 2028 season. So, I mean, I think that they struck kind of a holy balance here with this contract. They didn't. There's no huge handout beyond the 2026 season, although there is a commitment from the 49ers there to where an eject would not be particularly easy after 2026. And there's also that dangling carrot in 2028 of massive money, something that is, would surpass even that Jared Goff number, which was a strong number at $165 million of full cash flow. There is an incentive. There's that dangling carrot there for Purdy to not only achieve that, but also to achieve a new contract. And if we run things through logically over the course of the next few years, you say, Purdy didn't have the most black and white leverage this time. Like, he didn't have the same type of leverage that Dak Prescott did, right, when he waited till the last minute before the 2024 regular season to sign. Purdy was still under contract for one more season, so you have to give a little bit if you're Brock Purdy to get this done on the earlier end, and he did. But if he can get this to 2028, just imagine what can happen in a positive sense between now and then. The 49ers may have a Super Bowl between now and then. I think that would be the hope for San Francisco at some point here in the next few seasons. He'll be in his later 20s. He'll be in perfect prime positioning to renegotiate this in 2028 as perhaps the very largest contract that we've ever seen in NFL history, if that's what he wants to do. Or he can go Brady mode and he can give the 49ers a little bit more, leave some more meat on the bone. But still, he'll be in line to be rewarded all over again in 2028. And the 49ers will be incentivized to do so because, again, you look at the salary cap hit in 2028, it's nearly $58 million. Even with a rising salary cap hit, I would venture to say that the 49ers will want to lower that number. And they could lower it by repeating the same techniques that we've seen applied to this original deal. So that's why I want everybody to sit back and circle April 1st, 2027 on their calendars as a very big trigger date in this Brock Purdy contract, a date that can, at that point, after the first two seasons, I think we'll know precisely how this is going. And I think the 49ers expect it to go very well. I think Brock Purdy's side expects it to go very well because he's shown that very high performance floor. And that's when the track toward a new contract in 2028 will be solidified. In fact, if you guys want me to make a prediction, I think that San Francisco is going to see good play from Brock Purdy over 2025 and 2026. And, I never predict injuries, so obviously that can throw things off, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to assume that there's going to be good health here. But in 2025 and 2026, you see good play. The trigger for 2028 does hit on April 1st, 2027. And then 2028, the offseason, is set up to be another contract renegotiation with Brock Purdy. What we've seen right now is the beginning of good faith partnership. There was a good faith negotiation between Purdy and the 49ers, and now this is a good faith partnership between Purdy and the 49ers moving forward. I mean, we could go to my article up on the San Francisco Standard, and the article has a couple really good quotes from this press conference yesterday that I think are very, very relevant as we move forward into this first contract and keep our eyes on Brock Purdy's next contract with the 49ers. And that's what nobody is talking about right now. That's why this is actually accurate. Nobody's talking about the 2028 renegotiation. This deal was obviously structured for the 49ers and Brock Purdy to undergo that 2028 renegotiation. All right, we had Nikki Williams our photographer, headed to the 49ers press conference with Purdy yesterday. Got this nice photo. But this is my article up on the Standard. I'm going to send a link over to Mike so you can put it into the description. We're going to go through a couple of the main quotes of this deal. Mike points out that Purdy's cap hits are lower than Sam Darnold's for the next 3 years. That much is true. So the 49ers have more flexibility for a better quarterback than the Seahawks do. That's how much of a win-win this was for San Francisco. Purdy making more than Sam Darnold, but has better cap flexibility for the 49ers as they surf this wave. They just stay ahead of the salary cap wave moving forward. All right. I'm going to scroll down in this article. I'm going to find the good quote because this is the one that I think really, really emphasizes the good faith negotiation of the entire process and sets the table for truly everything moving forward. We got a lot of good pictures in this article. I'm going to put this back up on the screen so you guys can enjoy the photography. Go sign up for the San Francisco Standard. It is in the description of the article. Mike has just put it there. Obviously, talks about buying his bass boat. That's exciting. I'm sure he'll get one for free now, because when you have this kind of money, that's when, ironically, in this world, you don't need free things, but you're offered free things. Okay, here's one. But we're just going to put this entire, we're going to put this entire section up on the screen, and I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit so you can see it. But I am screenshotting this, and here you go. So at the top, Purdy says, we wanted to make sure we were working together with the organization to set everyone up for success. It wasn't about me just getting as much money as I could. I want to get what I deserve, but also surround myself with guys around me and not take every penny for myself. Okay, really good stuff to start for Brock Purdy. Then they started with a very at the bottom. They started with a very respectable first offer. From there, the communication with my agent was great. There was no drama involved. So if the 49ers and Brock Purdy were able to get this off to such a good start, this is going to bleed forward into the future. And that's why we need to talk about this in the big picture. That's why we need to talk about 2028 as a renegotiation point, because there are obviously really cooperative vibes coming out of this first deal. That sets them up for 2028 in a really good way. The cooperative vibes allowed the 49ers to keep that salary cap hit extremely low by virtue of a smaller than usual signing bonus in year one, yet maintain the level of trust that allow Purdy to still outpace somebody like Jared Goff after the third year of this contract at $165.05 million in cash flow. It led to the big win of the extremely low salary cap hit and the big win of cap management being left on the bone for the 49ers. You can see that here. You can see that the base salaries in subsequent years after 2025 remain far above the league minimum, meaning that there is conversion room here for the 49ers to make the salary cap hits smaller as they need to be over the course of these years. So it's not particularly high until 2028, 24.8 million, 30.8 million. Those are both very manageable, but the 49ers can lower those cap hits if they need to. And then guess what? By NFL rule, unused salary cap space carries over from season to season. So it's all flow control. It all comes from this one big pool. And I liken it to wells in every single season. And you need to make sure you have enough money, like a reservoir, let's put it that way. You need to make sure you have enough money, salary cap space in each reservoir to operate. Well, you got pipes connecting all the reservoirs, so you can let money out through these restructures into future year reservoirs. This 49ers contract for Brock Purdy is very, very interconnected with the flow control that they're practicing with these reservoirs. They're going to be able to pour money out in 26 and 27, set themselves up for renegotiation in 2028, or at the very worst, they're going to be able to set themselves up for pouring a lot of money out, because that's a $34.1 million base salary. You can always convert that salary back to the minimum, stretch it out like I stretch it out with the blue, the green, the yellow, and the teal. So, my first reaction was correct. I have to go back to that. When I saw this deal and I started seeing the details last Friday, my first reaction was, wow, this is extremely mature. Brock Purdy has come in and been okay, because, the first thing I found out through my sources was salary cap hit around $8 or $9 million. 2 thumbs up for the 49ers. The only way that they get to that is if Brock Purdy is selfless and doesn't need to take a signing bonus that sets records. He's willing to take a smaller signing bonus than these other guys. But that's where the good faith comes in, because he still has the cash flow that's very comparable to these big time quarterback deals that at the top of the market. He still has that cash flow through 3 and 4 years, but he doesn't quite have it in year one. So he's mature enough to take less in year one to help the 49ers out so they have more rollover salary cap space. That's huge. Cap hit stays at 9.1 million this season. He also is mature enough to not need the APY to be absurdly high at the back end just for vanity purposes. So he keeps the APY at a spot where it's respectable, 53 million, but also sets the 49ers and himself up for a much easier renegotiation in 2028, since there isn't stupid funny money tacked onto this deal in 2029 and 2030. So my initial reaction was mature deal on all fronts, gives the 49ers flexibility, gives Brock Purdy security. That's all great, but we have to remember that the pivotal date is April 1st, 2027, to set 2028 up with that rolling guarantee that vests into the full guarantee, and it sets 2028 up for the new deal. Boom. Brock Purdy contract analysis. How do you like it? While we're at it, the 49ers also have officially signed Fred Warner. This is from the San Francisco 49ers. Let's have a listen into Warner and John Lynch.
I can't tell you how grateful we are for you. Remember seeing down at Senior Bowl, this guy who played nickel at BYU.
That's right. Yeah.
Trying to see, could you play linebacker? And right away, the answer was yes. And one of the best decisions we've ever made. So appreciate you.
That is to all the haters who try to tell me over the years that Fred Warner did not play DB at BYU. John Lynch literally said, "We saw you play nickel at BYU. We wanted to see if you could also play linebacker." So probably a good idea to get your information from accurate channels like this one. Fred Warner, we had him pegged as a nickelback in college, which John Lynch had him pegged as a nickelback as well. But as far as accuracy when discussing contracts, that's something that I'm very proud of. We covered this Brock Purdy situation accurately throughout the negotiation. And now at a time where everybody seems to think they're a contract expert, but they're giving bad information regarding this contract, I'm happy to say that we're giving accurate information regarding the contract. This was not an easy lifting process for me, so I do appreciate all of you tuning in as we have gone through the big wins in this contract, the big keys in this contract, the trigger dates in this contract. And anytime that there's a deal that strikes a balance, I think, as well as this Purdy one, and you have to, tip your cap to Kyle Strong, Purdy's agent. You have to tip your cap to Brian Hampton and Parag Marathe, who are negotiating this on the 49ers side. You have to tip your cap to John Lynch for helping bind everything together from that presidential point of view. Anytime there's a deal like this, it is not easy to break down, because the internet wants winners and losers. The internet wants to throw somebody under the bus and they want to glorify somebody else. And that's really, if you execute a good contract, and one of the big keys here is May 16th. That's the date that Purdy and the 49ers agreed to this contract. When you do have something agreed to that early, it's likely going to be a little bit more gray area, a little bit more complex. Both sides are going to have their wins in this deal. There's real compromise in this deal. And I understand that looking at it through that kind of nuance isn't popular on the internet, where everybody wants to yell one way or the other. The truth is that Brock Purdy left something on the table, the 49ers left something on the table, and both sides found a deal that works for both, that gives the 49ers optionality into the future, but only if Brock Purdy completely tanks as a quarterback. And I think that nobody wants to have to use that optionality. I think that both sides believe in success moving forward, and that's why the 49ers made this massive bet on Brock Purdy in the first place. We've got a new Purdy emoji. Mike, did you make this? If you made this, I'll go ahead and share it up on the screen. I'm going to share it up on the screen regardless. I like this one. This is good. I mean, this goes back to my article up on the San Francisco Standard. Mike did make this. Congratulations to Mike. That's a really good one. That's the Purdy fishing emoji, which ties directly into the article here up on the San Francisco Standard. I mean, I opened it with this. Brock Purdy broke into a sheepish grin. The newly minted 49ers quarterback, who on Tuesday signed a contract worth up to $265 million, wasn't quite sure if he'd relay the recent conversation he'd had with his wife, Jenna. But that grin quickly grew into a smile. Purdy, a quarterback famous for the simple authenticity that he's maintained during his meteoric rise from pick number 262 to NFL stardom, seemed to realize there could be no better ending to his contract christening press conference than a revelation of an upcoming expenditure. I was telling my wife, and she was annoyed with me, but I'd like to get a bass boat one day. And by this point, Purdy was beaming. So that'll be my first big purchase. The bass boat for Brock Purdy, his first big purchase. That's the birth of this emoji. And then, you know, later in the entire article, I thought that this was a perfect metaphor because the 49ers are going to be counting on Purdy to be their leader in the years ahead. Waters are calm now, but Purdy knows that the chaos of the season looms beyond the horizon. And he knows the 49ers believe in his ability to be their rudder. Perhaps that planned purchase of a fishing boat is fitting, considering Purdy has maintained such an even keel so far in his young professional career. The even keel, the rudder, the boat, the bass boat purchase, that's going to be the first one with this new contract. And it's one that is truly a win-win between the 49ers and Purdy. Everybody, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. I am now confident that there is no contract breakdown like this one of Brock Purdy. You can join the channel as a member. You can join the San Francisco Standard. This is where all the deepest 49ers analysis is happening. So at the very least, hit the like, comment in there. It helps our algorithm, guys. So go do that. It's the least you can do. We'll talk to you really soon.